Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
She is at the forefront of some of the coolest new design in terms of buildings, also interior design, all of that. And she's very centered on workforce development. She's an advocate for that within her interior design company. We're going to dig deeper into what's available and how advantageous it is in your design, or even just if you're thinking about starting fresh, remodel, starting from the ground up, literally. We're going to get some insight from Christy, Reyes, Howell. Welcome. How you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. Just as
Good.
good. Doing all
Good.
right. Can't believe it's almost Friday.
TGIF. It's like it's a Friday Junior.
I call it Friday Eve.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Like New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah.
So before we even begin, you have something coming up called Construction Camp. What is
Mhm.
that?
So about 3 years ago, we started a nonprofit. I say me and a few other self-entrepreneurial, people are just kind of energized to get things rolling in our industry. Started a construction camp for middle school students. We about 4 to 5 years prior to that, we had started a hands-on career fair for high school students, and so we felt we needed to get to a little bit earlier age of students or youth, and so we have a week-long construction camp that we put on for sixth, seventh, eighth graders. And if you were an eighth grader, you can come back in your ninth grade year if you had fun. And they learn everything under the sun construction, and they are all hands on. So they literally get to take apart mini splits and then figure out how to put them back together. And then they're learning how to make holes in a wall, but then we teach them how to patch that hole in a wall and texture and then paint over it. There's all sorts of things we introduce them to, and that's the whole goal of the camp is to introduce them to so many opportunities of positive career choices that are so fluid for themselves and their families, as they grow older, because there's so much to learn and just feel just accountable and not just accountable. What's the word I'm looking for? Ownership to knowing a skill trade and having that knowledge. Um, Electricians, plumbers, HVAC, these people make some really solid, good money. And, we need more of them all across the nation, not just in Oklahoma, across the nation. And we need women as well. So part of that camp is to also encourage young women, young ladies, young girls to get involved. And the first year we put the camp on, we had a few girls in the camp. The second year we put the camp on, we had an entire crew of girls in the camp. And
Wow.
so our camp consists of anywhere from 8 to 10 campers per crew. This year, we have 80 campers, which was our desire to goal to reach. We got that goal. We have a waiting list. So we're just so excited about this camp getting off the ground. It's our third year, but the goal for it is to ultimately be like a camp in a box. So we have a lot of smaller communities that may not have necessarily the high dollar funds or the big corporate sponsorships in their communities to put forth something like that. But if you had this camp that you could just get your local plumber, your local electrician to come to a single day, and all the parents brought their kids to, they would learn so much about it. And so part of that is to produce this camp, market it to all the communities across the nation, and help them achieve, an energy for workforce development.
What a great idea. Like there's so many camps out there and they're all good, but this one very specific. And I completely agree with you. There's a lack of interest in trades now. Everything is going toward more technical type IT occupations, and that's all good, but we're always going to need plumbers. We're always going to need carpenters. We're always going to drywall ain't going anywhere soon, as far as I know. This, and they make a lot of money.
They do. They make really good, decent, just labor wages and I mean, at just more than minimum, wage. You can just come in right out of
Sure.
a certification. It's really, really, and you can get certified. And you can get certified in a quicker time frame than you can maybe necessarily get a college degree. And then you can put yourself through college if you wanted that business degree by being a tradesman or journeyman or some level. And you just kind of, it's an evolution. And there's this part of me that I wish for my level of enjoyment in the industry, had that been an opportunity for me to go to, I probably would have either been HVAC or an electrician to
Mm.
first, and then gone through and kind of figured more out, and then done a design world because still have this creativity side to me. But because part of when I went through school as a designer, there were those mechanicals and those technical things that I just felt like I might not know what I'm talking about if I don't understand the technicalities to what the product I'm producing. So this has just been kind of like it's a passion project for me, that I love. But then I always thought I'd have more kids. I have one, and he was 10 pounds. So I was like, yep, we're done.
You had two. You
But
had
I
two
thought I'd have
kids.
like five. I pretty much did. Yeah. And and I didn't get to have more. So I was just like, oh my gosh, this is my way of connecting with
Hmm.
other young ladies.
And how old is your son now?
He's 14 and ninth grade. He'll be 15 in less than a month. So I'm like, oh Lord, we're at that age of, driver's ed, behind the wheel, working. It's a new world for me.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I have 18 and daughter just turned 16. Same thing with the driving and all of that. Yeah. Does your son have any interest in any of these trades? What's his interest in?
What's funny is he doesn't, but he has been because mom started the Construct My Future event. He was put through it because he was sixth and seventh grade when we started, and he loves it. Like he's actually coming back this year to be a junior volunteer as a ninth grader.
Cool.
He doesn't want to have anything to do with the trades. He wants to be a pilot, but he supports the trades on levels that I think just because he's seen me in pretty much his entire life.
But you know what? Even if you're not looking to get into one of those trades, it's good to know on your own. There's so many younger people nowadays that don't know how to do basic things. I've read something recently that they did a survey of 100 people in their 20s, like low 20s. How do you write a check?
And what was the percentage?
It was like 83% didn't know how to write a check.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
same
mean,
thing. Uh, I don't know about anybody else, but there's many times I had to repair drywall. I didn't go to school for it. I had to learn it, figure it out, teach myself. So this is a good springboard to all of this. Because again, unless I'm missing something, there's going to be drywall in most buildings till
mm,
further notice. How do you fix a toilet? You figure it out. Of course, there's YouTube, but imagine having that hands-on, at a camp like that when you're
it's
younger.
it's a confidence level too. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I've actually touched this. I've learned to do this, or oh, I might kind of remember. You just kind of have this little bit extra level of confidence of, yeah, I could do that. I think I can do that. Or
Hmm.
encouraging other people, like, hey, yeah, we totally did this when I was in sixth grade. We
Right.
get our seventh graders and they are welding. They're wearing, of course, all the PPE,
Uh,
but they're welding. And that's like something that nobody in the sixth, seventh grade age ever gets to do in in any fashion because there's safety precautions. So we've absolutely put our campers through, all the safety. The parents know exactly what they're all getting into and doing, and but they love it. And what's really funny at these camps is like the first part, the kids are all like, "Oh, mom and dad are making me go to this camp. I don't want to be here," because it's right after school. It's right at
right.
the beginning of summer. And by the end of the week, their parents are like, oh my God, they will not shut up at home talking about what they did that day. And it's just so inspiring and just, fulfilling to hear those fun stories.
When I went to camp as a little kid, it was popsicle sticks and Elmer's glue. If you
Now
could tell
it's
me
also wood.
you right, if you told me right now we're going to be welding tomorrow, I would be there in a second. Like I've never had a chance to weld. I've soldered. That's electronic and yeah, that supported me. Actually taught myself and that's how I built like everything. That's how I
Mhm.
started. I
Yeah.
started my career in broadcast by teaching myself electronics.
And hands-on. It's like
Yeah.
doing it hands-on. And that's kind of part of like the career fairs. When we first started the career fairs, we were like, we will not allow you to have pamphlets and just verbiage. That's not going to work. You have to come in, you have to have a hands-on experience because that's the one way you're going to connect with them. And then the other flip side of this is like it actually helps them figure out at much younger ages what they want to be. And when they're older, that confidence factor of like, I don't really think I could do that. They did things when they were in seventh grade that they didn't think they could do. There are things that adults can't do, in their
Hmm.
20s that seventh graders, 10, oh my gosh, it's just I feel like this will be a really solid, fun, encouraging. Because we have campers that do want to come back because we've had it 3 years. So I think, just getting more, a word out there about it, finding sponsors to help us happen because this doesn't happen without money. And then letting our I say high profile corporate level sponsors be aware that, they're going to benefit from this like nobody's business more so than the small mom and pops are, because they're going to find a larger flood. It's going to take us 10 years, probably minimum, to really get that energy of, the flows of people be like, yeah, I'm going to go, you got 4 plumbers in the room and 4 attorneys instead of, 1 plumber and no electricians and 5 attorneys and a bunch of YouTubers or
Right.
something.
What a great idea. Really. I commend you on this. I think it's a fantastic, and just different and so useful. Let's pivot over to the other part of your life. Um, Workforce development. You're an advocate. How do you define workforce development? We hear that term a lot.
Well, workforce development to me is energizing and encouraging all walks of life to potentially consider what avenue might be. And then it's educating at a much younger age. We're not going to ever develop our workforces if we wait to the last minute to get to them. So it's really kind of getting closer to a younger age. I think I've spoke about the house that she built once before. A Utah group of PWB women built a house fully touched by women's hands. There wasn't a gentleman's touch to it at all, but it was still built, still solid. And now there's a children's book and a foundation about it to help encourage even younger ages. So there's an energy about it. But workforce development is basically just kind of a family, a community of corporate mom and pops coming together and really encouraging our youth.
Gotcha. Yeah, which is in line with the construction camp
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
The other part of what you do, of course, designer, builder, and we talked a little bit about. I'm trying to remember what ICF.
Yes. Perfect. Mhm.
What did that stand for?
Again, it stands for insulated concrete forms. It's a continuous insulation product that allows you structural stability with concrete and rebar in between 2.5 inches of polystyrene, which looks like a styrofoam, but it's not styrofoam because most of the product, as long as it's with polystyrene, it's recyclable.
I have to believe that the insulation properties of that are huge, right?
They're yes, they're wonderful. They're through the roof. Our 22s, our 23s, our values are where we get our insulation numbers, and we can reach those very easy. And it's a little challenge. It's a bit more challenging to reach them in just a spray foam insulation. You have to have a much thicker, which of course, if you think about this, thick wall of a 6 inch block, you got 2.5 inches of the styrofoam, you have 6 inches of concrete, and then another 2.5 inches. That's a 12-inch overall thick wall. So yeah, you are going to have some thickness, but what you have in a wood frame home are your thermal breaks with the thermal studs of the wood. And in every wood stud is a thermal break. Any air, any loss of heat, any loss of cold transfers from that wood. So your insulation is very solid, but your wood is not. And so when you have continuous insulation on the outside or inside of that space, you're reducing those amount of thermal breaks.
Do you have that example? It was a small prototype. I don't know if you have it handy.
Mhm. Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Okay. That's a very small scale of something that would be way bigger, where the concrete is poured inside of that form.
Mhm.
Where would that be used within a structure? Is that the foundation? Is that on top of the foundation? What's
It can
happening?
be in three different locations. It can be only the basement, if that's what you would prefer. You can make a storm shelter out it. It can be your main floor. It can be your basement and main floor, and it can go all the way up to 3 stories tall.
Wow. So is some construction where they use concrete block,
Mhm.
sometimes more on the commercial side.
Mhm.
Um, you could use that as would you still, let's say that was on top of your foundation, or let's say you started at the foundation with that and then went to the next level up, let's say if it's, or maybe two,
Mhm.
um, that would take the place of framing.
Yes, for your exterior walls only though. You don't have to, you won't want to use this on the interior walls because it takes up square footage, yeah, it takes up real estate of your square footage. You can just do your typical wood frame or metal frame, depending on most residentials would do wood frame and commercial spaces would do metal frame on the inside interior walls.
Got it. With that, so I want to make sure I have the picture clear. Foundation is whatever you want it to be. It could be that. One layer up, one level up, we would have that, or no.
No, yeah, you're right, but I want to just make sure on a clarity level when I talked about foundation, you would still have your footings. You would still have those which would not be this product. It would be of a typical standard footing, whatever your structural engineer designed that to be.
Sure.
And then what you can do is you can stick these on your footings that would then be like your stem wall or would then be, but then when you talk about foundation or basements, you would have your foundation, then you'd have your slab, and then you would have your basement where all the materials, the backfill would come up to the basement. Then you would have your cap, whether that was in concrete or that was metal, steel trusses, whatever, wood trusses. Then you would have your next set of walls, and that could also be ICF. So you have your foundation, which your foundation is typically your footings and your stem wall, and then you'd have your basement, and this could be your basement walls, and then it could be all the way up to 3 stories tall.
I'm just looking from a insulation aspect of it. Like, wow. I know it's taking up space in terms of square footage, but it's got to be such a well insulated structure if you use that.
It is really well insulated. It is also very sound and like
Oh,
quiet inside.
hmm.
Sometimes so I built my parents' house. That was my first home that I built, and it was their forever home. And I remember my mom would call me and she's like, Mija, I can't tell it's raining outside. I just was like, I can't hear the rain. And so it's just, I just,
Wow.
where she could normally hear the rain and sometimes thunder or, whichever. She can hear strong thunderstorms. Oklahoma has a really, like just all night we had thunderstorms and woke us up many times with big booms. But it's, she just sometimes she's like, I can't even tell it's thundering. I love it.
Well, to your point, Oklahoma, you deal with other weather challenges, and that's one of the reasons why you pivoted over to that.
I did, 100%. I was actually very uncertain in building a home, and I'm only uncertain simply because I know a stick frame home cannot withstand even an F2 tornado. And I didn't want to be a builder that would potentially put someone in a home that wouldn't withstand that. That just was me and a wholehearted sleeping every night, all of that. And so that's when I saw this, and this has literally been kind of like the next passion project. You could bury me in a ICF coffin.
Right? And I think it's a fantastic idea. You look at even some of the homes built in the Caribbean. I love the architecture. I love the Caribbean. Um, a lot of it is cement block for that reason. Hurricanes come blowing through there. They don't want to worry about that anymore. So
Right. Well, there
this is
was a
another.
tornado, or not a tornado. I think it was Hurricane Michael or Katrina on the East Coast back, I think in 14 or 15 that happened. And there was this one structure that was still standing, and it blew me away. And that one image is the one image to this date that still like sells me on this product because like the building behind it didn't get hurt. So it was very energizing to see how solid this structure was.
Wow. So with what you offer, you're a complete designer and builder. Like if somebody said, I need a home built, here's a parcel of property. I'm going to build a, Victorian, whatever it is going to be. You would do it
Yep.
from the bottom
Any
up.
I can do it from the bottom up, yes. I do like to use people in the industry, and I don't like to say use, but partner with people in the industry to
Sure.
help solidify a solid project. I have designers that I like to work with outside of just me being myself because it's really hard to do the design and the build and the manage and the budgeting. It's hard to wear all the hats. So I do definitely like to have people in my little, circle of
Sure.
CRH to make that happen. But yep, we can.
What is your favorite thing to do?
I don't really know. It's so many things.
Wow.
But in this industry, my favorite thing to do is to really, right now, it's to bring forward our skilled labor energizing. Like, I love my job as a designer and as an ICF forefront builder. I really do. But I get to look forward to two events a year. And those are my two workforce events, which one is in June, which is the Construct My Future camp. And then the other one's in October, which is Build My Future. And that's for high school students. And that's a 1 day hands-on career fair for high school students. So those two, I get, it's kind of like a mid-year sort of thing. And it re-energizes because in this industry, it's not for the faint of heart. It really, really isn't. I just had a designer dinner last week with a bunch of designer friends, and we all kind of, it's just it's hard sometimes. We want to really make our clients happy. We want to be there for them. Sometimes we become therapists to some degree because we
Mm.
have to help them kind of understand, the trade-offs, and they get emotional about this, about a product or about just something they see. A lot of our builds or designs are emotionally connected. So, it's a fun industry, but like I said. Thick skin is good to have.
I could imagine it's fun in that it's always changing. Like your
Oh,
projects are always different. I'm even looking on your website, from
yes.
a complete build from the bottom up to redesigning a home to the design, the interior design. There's always, I guess that's got to be the fun part. It's always changing. It's always
It's
different.
always changing. Absolutely. Thank you for that. That is a good point. It is always changing. You learn something new every job. And I think I like that. It's just kind of constant. I have a tattoo right here. It's called Kaizen. And it means positive growth. And
Hmm.
that is just a constant reminder. Grow positively. We will always make mistakes as we evolve as people and as humans. And as long as you take the mistake and evolve in a positive way, you're going to be a much better person at the end of the day.
Sure. And of course, challenges are going to come up, but once you have the experience and I think most importantly, the confidence, you could be in the middle of a project, you unearth something literally. And it's like, all right, now what do we do? All right, got to come up with a plan. How are we going to
Yeah.
get around that? Let's call in the troops, resources, whatever it is, so that we can move it forward. But uh, while it can be a little stressful at the same time, kind of fun, because I would imagine it challenges you at the same time.
Yes, problem solvers love to resolve things, and when you get to see the resolution come from a team effort, it's even more, yeah. And I'm a
Mm.
problem solver with a creative, energized level of, could we do it a little bit better? Or can we save a little bit more money? Or, only to a certain extent, because um, it, there's always a better practice and there's always someone that's going to do it better than you. It's just on how you enjoy doing it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
It's
totally get it. Yeah. Are you a perfectionist?
no. Like, yes, too much. Too
Yeah.
a fault.
I used to be. I kind of abandoned that a little bit. I still go by we can always do it better. Because I believe if you can. If you look, I'm gonna do a little bit better, but you don't need to. Kind of let that go and move it forward. Um,
Yes, I mean, I am learning that in this lovely early ages of 40s. It's fun.
yeah, yeah, but you gotta let it. There's a newspaper clipping on the wall in the other room. I was 17. I love drawing cartoons. They did wanted to be a syndicated cartoonist. They did uh, a display at the library, and the local paper did that on me when I was 17. And in it is a quote from me: "I'm a perfectionist. I want to go in there and just take a pen and go take it off because it doesn't support you. It does. It's
It it really
sure
does. It
we want it to
helps.
be done right. It helps. It helps,
It
but
helps, but it's not like really like give yourself grace, and you're probably doing it really well.
yeah, you
To
can't get caught up in it though. Yeah.
no, no,
So
no.
how do we find you if somebody wants to learn more, or maybe even Who knows, even be a sponsor of some of the workforce development projects you got going on. How do they find you?
You can direct message me, DM me at Christy Reyes Howell on Facebook. You can always reach me there as well at CRH Design Build with Instagram and Facebook with the business side. And then LinkedIn as well, Christy Reyes Howell, simple. And then 405-818-5115 is a mobile you can reach me at. And then email me directly, christy@crhdb.com. And either just put CMF, I'll know that means Construct My Future, or just say, hey, heard you on Steve's podcast, and I'll absolutely respond. I look forward to hearing from you too.
Always great talking with you. Love your positivity and your energy, and looking forward next time we get together.
Yes, I look forward to it, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.